Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for. I changed it, and you're going to find out why. You're going to find out why. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Maverick Mindset Radio Show. I'm Adam Williams.
And I'm Ashley Muckinhaupt.
And this is the radio show for the dreamers and doers. It's for those who are willing to step into the arena.
Some call us the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers.
We don't accept the status quo. We leave the world better than we find it.
We approach each day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. We maintain irrational optimism about the future.
This is the Maverick Mindset Radio Show, brought to you by me, Adam Williams. Today's show is going to be awesome. I'm just putting it out there.
Okay.
And once you understand the topic of today's show, you're going to understand exactly why. Like I'm practicing what I preach
You
today.
prepped more than me.
I wouldn't call it prepped, but I am in the zone.
Yeah. Okay. That's topic.
That's the topic. How to get in the zone.
Well, you're going to have to tell us how you got in the zone then.
Yeah, we'll get through that for sure. I got to take a selfie because I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt today.
Noticed that
and
when you came
I got to send it to... Again,
Is there
actually,
a
let's talk
reason
about
for
that.
it?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
That's the whole point. I'm screaming. Oh my gosh. Yeah, very intentional today. From the sneakers I wore to the shirt I have on to the watch I wore to to the way I started off the show. This is going to be so good. So today we are talking about how to show up as the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
How to get in the zone, how to be in that like peak state.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been thinking about this recently. I mean, first of all, it's just something that I do. I'm very intentional about this type of thing. But did you hear the story of Scotty Scheffler? Do you know who he is?
Well, no. So you need to tell me.
He is, for anybody who hasn't heard this story. And anybody who has heard this story probably hasn't thought about it this way, which is why they listen to this show.
Yeah.
All right. So this guy's a professional golfer, PGA Tour.
Okay.
And I think he's pretty good. I don't know anything about golf, but I think he's pretty good. I think he may have won the Masters or something. I don't know. I'm looking for Joel to fact check me on that.
He's
number one.
one.
Yeah. So he shows up to wherever they're playing this weekend. I think it was in Louisville. And something had happened, and someone who like worked at the golf course got hit by a car and died. So the police all show up.
Oh.
So this happened at like, I don't know, 5 a.m. The details aren't important. Scotty pulls in at 6 a.m. to get ready for his 10:08 tee time, right? So he's there 4 hours early. And he is frustrated by the police presence. These are now allegations. Something happens and the dude gets arrested. The golfer, Scotty Scheffler, number one golfer, shows up to the golf course and gets arrested at 6 o'clock in the morning. He gets out of prison.
He's in prison.
Gets to the course now an hour before his tee time at 10:08 a.m. and finished in eighth place in the tournament.
All right.
I don't know how many times this guy's been arrested in his life, but I'm going to guess it's fewer than 2.
At 6 in the morning.
On the day of the PGA Championship,
Wow.
he goes from having 4 hours to warm up and get ready and get in the zone to now 1 hour, also just got out of jail, hits the tee at 10:08 a.m. and finishes tied for 8th place.
And I would assume he arrives 4 hours early because he has a routine that fills up that 4 hours.
Yep.
And he had to
So
figure that out.
how does he do it?
Yeah.
How does he do it? And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about today. And I think you were going to do a little bit of homework on Michael Jordan.
I did.
Okay.
I did. Yes.
All right.
I didn't realize his.
Exactly. All right. So there's 2 parts to what we're going to talk about today. Like, how does somebody like Scotty Scheffler? I've never been arrested.
Yeah, me neither.
I've had my fair share of police encounters, but like never been in jail for any period of time. I'm going to guess that he hasn't either, yet somehow, whether he's guilty or innocent of the underlying charges, he gets released from jail and shows up and performs at the level that he just performed. I think something like getting arrested, again, whether you're innocent or guilty, would throw anybody off their game.
Well, yeah.
If you got arrested, would you still show up for work?
I don't think so. I might call in sick.
I would probably, yeah. You'd probably call me.
I would.
But for other reasons, yeah. So how does this guy do it? And this is exactly what we are covering on today's show, because I think it's so interesting, right? I had this experience. So in my own life, I had this last night. I'm coaching both kids' soccer teams, and they went back to back last night.
Nice.
So first, I coached the 6-year-olds, and if you are a kindergarten teacher and you're listening to this show, first of all, get back to your class. But maybe you're listening on replay. If you're a kindergarten teacher and you're listening to the show, please send me your address, and I would like to mail you a gift card, because my goodness, there's
That's
there's
hard.
12 or 13 of these 6-year-olds. They are insane. And like, we're doing physical activity. We're running around. We're burning energy. And we gotta keep these. I couldn't get them to stand in line.
Yeah.
And there's 12 or 13 of them, literally 3 coaches, and we can't even get them in a single file line, right?
They got an absurd amount of energy.
Yep. So we've got to keep them moving. We've got to keep them active. I am a high energy. We kind of like, even the parents are laughing because like I got to be a clown out there to keep these kids engaged. And we joke and I show them how to dribble with their elbows and how to dribble with their nose, and everybody has a good time. Then we go 100 yards after that practice to the other field, and we've got the 13-year-olds.
Which they've been playing a while, most of them.
They're good players.
Yeah.
They've got their squeaky voices. They're saying, I don't even want to say the word because I don't know if it's a bad word, but skibbity. I don't know what that is, but that came out a lot. These kids are talking trash to each other. A bunch have been on the same teams before. Well, I can't show up the same way to coach those 13-year-olds as I do the 6-year-olds, right? I would be like the substitute teacher who leaves in tears.
Yeah.
So I literally had 100 yards to walk and like change my state to, okay, we go from being the clown with the 6-year-olds to I better put my guard up and like show these 13-year-old boys who's boss. So, and this happens with meetings. This happens with appointments that we have. So I've been thinking a lot about this. So I want to talk about really 2 categories today.
Okay.
Because I think what worked for Scotty Scheffler is he's prepared. His lifestyle supports him being ready. And even if he gets arrested, thrown in jail, released, and shows up only an hour before his tee time, he still can end up tied for 8th place in the PGA Championship.
He knows how to switch it over. Within an hour.
He is conditioned for it, right? So it's like people can, I don't know how they do this, but they do. There are people who, if you called them and said, let's run a half marathon this weekend, they could do it, right? Like they are conditioned at that level, right? There may even be people that can do it at the marathon level. I'm sure there are, but that's it. Running over 20 miles is harmful for you. This is coming from a guy who's run 2 marathons.
Yeah.
But he's ready. He's conditioned. He's trained. So it's not that he's got like he's got a life that supports that. So that's like big picture. That's the lifestyle stuff. So I want to talk about that.
Okay.
But then I want to talk about the specific event for which you're getting ready. Like this is the meeting, the sales presentation, the live presentation, whatever it is. Like, how do you get ready for that thing? And I think that's what you went out and looked up Michael Jordan about.
Yes.
So I want to talk about these 2 things because I think the 2 categories. I don't know where I heard this, but I've heard the phrases mental and environmental, right? So there's the big picture. What's your environment like to support you being conditioned to the point where you can just show up and knock it out of the park?
Yeah.
And then on the mental side, what do you do? Like, what is your habit or routine? Or I don't remember what you said about Scotty Scheffler, but you said he's got to have some way that he like gets ready and gets in the zone. So what are the things that you're doing to get ready for that thing? Because again, the way that I prepared for the 6-year-old soccer practice was different from the way I prepared for the 13-year-old soccer practice.
Different zone.
Oh my gosh.
Completely.
Both extremely challenging also. It was actually kind of cool. So I showed up to the 13-year-olds team, and I recognized there were a couple kids from last year's team. All right, first of all, let me back up. The 6-year-olds, this was practice number 2.
Okay.
This is the 2nd week in a row where 3 kids have cried during practice.
Oh, no. I think I asked you the first time,
Yep.
Did you make them cry?
I'm sure they would blame me. Yeah, so 3 kids cried. So then I get over to the 13-year-olds field, and I said, all right, guys, like, I'm going to be honest. You all know more about soccer than I do, right? Like, I am the Ted Lasso of the Erie Youth Soccer Association 13 and under boys league, right?
Yeah.
I know nothing about soccer. So I said, you guys probably know more about soccer than I do. And honestly, like, I want to have fun. I want you guys to have fun. And if we can win some games, we're going to win some games, and we're going to celebrate when we do. But just to warn you, last year, our team tied the first game, and then we went on an 11-game losing streak. And I was so pumped up. These
you
kids
made a record somewhere.
these kids go, that's no big deal. We won every game last year. And I'm like, let's go, boys. I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it. I love winning. All right. So let's talk about the big picture stuff, the lifestyle, the environment portion of mental and environmental. Actually, let me take a step back. Because I love systems. I I love ways of thinking about things. I love when people explain something in a way that's like, oh, you know what? I kind of had a vague idea, but now I've got a new way or a new framework of thinking about this.
We did this last week when you put the system up with sales. And
that's
when you put it, I was like,
not on the show, but literally at work.
At work, yeah. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's amazing what a whiteboard and a marker can do in the right hands. Okay. So I want to talk about, we're talking about how you can show up as the best version of yourself. Maverick Mindset Radio. How do you get in the zone? I want to give some categories because I when I say this, literally the first thing I think about is work, because you've seen my calendar. It is back-to-back meetings, and they're different topics with different people where I've got to show up in different ways. Rarely am I an attendee at a meeting, like merely in the audience.
Right.
I'm usually either running the meeting or I'm the one sitting there to whom everyone is looking for the solutions. But there's other categories that we need to be mindful and intentional about how we're showing up. So I pull these, there's two different examples that I have in front of me. They're very similar, but I'll give you the one that's called the web of life. And if you Google the term web of life, or if we remember, we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
But basically, it gives you these categories, and I don't know how many there are, and I'm being put on the spot to count right now, but maybe 10 categories, where you go through and kind of evaluate where you are. Maybe you score yourself on a 1 to 10, or like your satisfaction with each of these categories. And then it gives you something to work on and focus on, right? You can either take your 7s and turn them into 9s, or take your 2s and turn them into 6s.
So where you're lacking in your life.
Exactly. So if you feel like something is missing in your life, or if you feel like they're like you're just off, but you don't know why, these categories are a really good place to turn. And when you go through and analyze and score these things, you go, oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like I find if I don't have enough like recreation in my life, enough like ability to create something outside of the workplace, I lose my mind, right? But it's not until I stop and go through this process that I realize, oh, that was the thing that was missing. Do
you think the things that are missing are the things that we feel guilty about doing, so we don't?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Sometimes these things just happen by accident. This is why the concept of work-life balance, one of the reasons why it bothers me so much, is because you're never, first of all, it's a fallacy, which is the nicest way I've ever said it. I use harsher language in my book, which finally got uploaded to Amazon last night. It's not like officially out, but it will be. But Amazon has now accepted the book, so big step yesterday. This is why I don't think balance exists, because things happen either because usually because you're not focused or intentional or paying attention to this. And you can just sort of lose track. So let's go through these categories. There's 10 of them. And I'm going to read them quickly so we get them all out so you understand what's here. And then I'll go through them a little more slowly. So the first is your career and business. And again, that's where I said I usually start with this stuff. Second is environment. Third is romance. Fourth is social life. Fifth is spirituality. Sixth, health and fitness. Seventh, growth and learning. Eighth, enjoyment. Ninth, family. And 10th, wealth. I'll go through those a little more slowly. But those 10 categories, so I'll give you an example. There is a category on here both for romance and social life and enjoyment. And I think without the categories, I'd kind of bundle them all in one. Like relationships. How are my relationships? But if we can separate them out, it helps you further analyze these different things. So career and business. How are you showing up in the workplace? How are you showing up in your job? How are you showing up in your business? Are you satisfied with what's happening there, with the work that you're doing? Second is your environment. This is a huge one for me. Like Jackie and I, we kind of joke about it. Like we wake up every day and without even thinking about it, just express gratitude for the environment that we live in. Like our home is such an inspiring, great, wonderful place. But your work environment, right? Yeah. This goes back to, was it 2021 when we paved the parking lot at our office, right? Like it seemed like such a stupid little thing. Not a little thing. It was expensive. I said it. I slipped. Anyway, it was more than I wanted to spend on such a thing. But now the lines are painted beautifully and it's forced us to up-level some other things. So now pulling into the office, I just feel different than I used to, right? So this is your furniture. This is your home, your office. Okay, romance. So we're scoring ourselves in that category, how we're doing, how's the romantic life. Social life, right? Are you getting out? Are you hanging out with friends? And here's the other thing. This can get out of balance in the other way. You can be spending
too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jackie and I were in Chicago over the weekend at this seminar where we actually had the opportunity to get on stage and talk about some tax strategies. It was really well received, but it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday of being around a whole bunch of people.
It's a lot.
And we presented Friday morning, so everybody knew who we were. Everybody wanted to talk about the stuff that we were talking about. It was exhausting.
Yeah.
Like we
By
both,
the end of the 3 days, you're like,
we got on the plane on Sunday and we're like, speaking of being intentional, I travel with my AirPods, the little ones, but I also travel with the AirPods Max, which are the big, over-ear headphones, right? When we got to the airport, I put on the big headphones.
Yeah.
Because it sends a message to everybody else. Don't talk to me. Don't, pull the hat down over my eyes, put on the big headphones. Yeah, I'm just going to be with my thoughts for a little bit. So, social life, how are you ranking there? What's your level of satisfaction? Spirituality. So however you define this, right? It could be just your spiritual practice, could be your church life, but what's your level of satisfaction on spirituality? Health and fitness. So diet, exercise. Yeah. I'm spending a lot of time on this right now for a lot of reasons, and I was telling you about my interactions with my trainer who sees every meal that I eat on the app.
So you didn't want to be held accountable.
I didn't. I stepped off the scale quite literally for a couple of days. But that's exactly why I hired him, is he holds me accountable, right? I'd probably still be off the wagon.
Yeah.
Okay, growth and learning. This is one I've been thinking a lot about too. What's your level of satisfaction with your growth and learning?
I feel like it's not something a lot of people think about, though. It gets lost in...
People don't think about it.
Yeah.
Here's let's reframe something here. We're all dealing with challenges, right? The only way you can grow is by dealing with challenges. Yeah. So if you've got challenges in your life, congratulations, you're growing.
Yeah.
But I think some of us tend to focus too much on the challenges and how horrible this is, and oh man, I just can't deal with this. But look at the growth opportunities there. That come from it. So how are you growing and what are you learning? And I think there's a lot of people that kind of avoid that.
Yeah.
It's
if you're not
our listeners, but yeah. Okay. Then we've got enjoyment, just generally, how satisfied are you with the level of enjoyment in your life, your family life? So spouse, significant other, kids, parents, aunts, uncles, what is your level of satisfaction there? So I know now we are heading into summer. We're going to be doing the picnics and the cookouts and a lot of family events and stuff like that. And then wealth, just generally speaking, this is separate from career and business, but what's your level of satisfaction with your wealth? So that's the web of life. And I think looking at doing an analysis of those categories, doing an analysis of your level of satisfaction gives you something to focus on. And again, we're talking how you show up as the best version of yourself. We're talking about getting in the zone. That's big picture. What is the status of your life? Now, every day, couple days, couple weeks, month or so, that changes. The numbers aren't static, right? So if you're spending too much time focused on your social life, maybe your health and fitness is going to, unless you're hanging out with your friends at the gym, that would be super healthy.
Yeah.
But that could, some of these could detract from others, right? Yeah. And we talked about this on the Mother's Day show. You're never going to score a 10 in all of these categories.
No. And something's got to give.
You've got to be okay with that.
Somewhere. Yeah.
Yes.
It's picking what you want to sacrifice.
That's exactly it. It's being intentional about it, of saying, okay, this is going to be my focus right now. So yes, with a focus on health and fitness, I got 4 weeks left before this thing that I'm trying to get in better shape for. With a focus on health and fitness, my social life will probably sacrifice a little bit. Mm-hmm. My enjoyment may be sacrificed a little bit. Now, interestingly, I do feel great, which is really nice. Yeah. But every now and then, having some ice cream with my kids wouldn't be the most horrible thing for me. Whatever, we'll start that in June, and it'll be great. So that's the web of life, and those are our categories. So I think that you made a really good point there about being intentional and choosing. Mm-hmm. I think once you're aware of the categories, it makes it easier to choose, because you're saying, okay, this is my thing, or these are my things that I'm working on right now. And one of the things that allows you to do is if you pick that one thing, if you focus, and this is true both for the big picture environmental stuff that we're talking about now, but also the very narrow, the next meeting, focusing on that one thing and deciding that you're going to focus on that one thing eliminates the stress and worry about all of the other stuff. Yeah. Because you've intentionally made that decision. Yes. So I met somebody a couple days ago. She's a coach, And I had a lot of advice for her in her business because I think she could help a lot of our clients. So I wanted to make a connection. And as we were sitting there talking, I said, "How many clients do you have?" She's pretty new at this. "How many clients do you have?" She said, 17. Cool. Like it was pretty impressive given the stage of her business. And she quit her job to go and do it. She was a lawyer, actually. She's a recovered lawyer, now doing some very specialized coaching. And as we were talking, I said, you're kind of not paying it. Like, are you thinking about your 17 clients now? Like, we're in this meeting, we're focused on growing your business. I'm telling you how you could literally 5x your prices, right? You could charge 5 times what you're charging right now if you do these things that my clients need, which I know you're capable of doing. I said, "Are you thinking about your 17 clients now?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm totally distracted. I'm not in the zone," right? So great example there. So looking at those categories, and there's other examples. There's what's called the Wheel of Health. There's the Web of Life that we talked about. There's other examples out there. We talk about our personal, professional, financial goals a lot on this show and in our lives. But each of those even has subcategories to it. So choose the thing. The phrase that I use is decide and make peace.
Yeah.
Right? Make the decision that this is the thing and everything else can go away, and it reduces distractions and it reduces guilt. So, okay, let's talk about lifestyle a little bit. Okay. Some of the things that I do and that other successful, happy, fulfilled people do in their overall lifestyle. So the foundation for this for me is always diet, exercise, recreation, right? Like if I'm and sleep. If I'm eating well, if I'm exercising, if I'm taking care of myself with recreation, and I'm getting enough sleep, if any of those are missing, the rest of this stuff doesn't really work. But that's always the foundation. And in fact, when we talk about habits, I want to talk about how your habits can improve each of those categories, right? Like my bedtime routine and how I sleep resulted in me showing up this morning like ready to rock and roll. Go. So, yep. All right. First thing with lifestyle, visualization. We've talked about this a little bit on this show, but really painting that clear picture of where you're headed. Yeah. And spending time thinking it through. Jackie and I were on a call yesterday with one of our coaches, and I don't know if he did this on purpose, but his vision board was hanging behind him on Zoom, nice. And I could literally see his lake house because I know he has a lake house, and there's this picture on it. But that visualization, that exercise of picturing the future and picturing the type of person that you want to be. Yeah. I think when a lot of people do vision boards, it's stuff, right? It's the things I want to buy, what kind of car, my house, stuff like that. Maybe the trips you want to take. But really the question is, what type of person do you want to be? Yeah. It makes it easier to show up as that person, right? So if I want to be the dad who's active in my kids' lives and has a successful business and whatever the other things are, I spend time thinking about that and really picturing it in my mind, right? So I've got what I think is a pretty clear picture or clear vision of Adam at 50, right? And if I'm doing the things now, that's 9 years from now. 8.5. if I can do things now that will allow me to become that version of Adam that I want to be when I'm 50 years old. So visualization really helps. Second thing, and these are not in really any particular order, but these are just things to think about. I think we talked about this after the show last week. It's a good time to do spring cleaning. Yeah. Like I got some crap out of my barn over the last couple of weeks. I got some stuff out of my house where it's time to flip the sweaters and put the t-shirts out, right?
It's that change in your environment, what things look like, what's surrounding you, and getting rid of old.
It's a great time to be intentional about that. Yeah. And it's not just stuff. Mm-hmm. It's also how you spend your time and with whom you spend your time. Like you could spring clean some people from your life. Right? Seriously, you laugh, but it's...
No, I laugh because it's true. Because absolutely.
I actually found out last night, I was on Facebook and someone shared someone else's post. And I thought, wow, it's weird. I didn't see that post. I went in and we're no longer friends on Facebook. Oh. It wasn't my choice, but somebody's doing some spring cleaning. I love it. It is definitely one of those haters that people talk about, though.
Well, so, because... I mean, and we've talked about before, who you surround yourself with and who you're especially around on a daily basis kind of attributes to these things, right? Like if you're with somebody or spending your time with somebody that doesn't find the things that you find important,
it's all about
support you in those.
It's all about your environment. Yeah. It's all about your environment. So here's an example. This is the example we were talking about last week. I have I got the gym in my basement, right?
Yep.
And it's awesome. We got the floor to ceiling mirrors and the rubber floor, and we got the Peloton bike and rower and treadmill and some weights. Jackie has her ballet bar. I haven't done that yet. Looks hard. It's very easy for me to wake up and work out.
Because it's all
there's no friction, right? There's
Yeah.
I don't have to go to the gym. I don't have to drive. I don't have to park. It's horrible in the winter months, especially in Erie. Like you got to put on your snowsuit, drive to the gym, then put your gym clothes on, and then put the snowsuit back on, and now you're sweaty and dry. There's a lot of friction to something as simple as working
You've
out.
made it convenient.
Even I think about every time I get off the Peloton rower, they
Yep.
they've got their safety warnings. And if this is your last row of the day, make sure you use the Peloton provided strap to mount your thing against the wall. And I was thinking about this when we were in Chicago too, because we're in the 23rd floor of this hotel, and you can see all the condos around. And like, even if I had to remove my rower from the wall and drag it to the middle of the room and plug it in and turn it on, that's friction.
Yeah.
And there are people who are able to overcome that friction. I'm not one of those people. I need that environment. My
Exactly
workout
the way it is in order to do the thing you need to do.
we have the water dispenser in the workout room. I've got my workout sneakers in the workout room. We've got the towels rolled up in the workout room. There is nothing that I need to work out that isn't there already.
Yeah.
So all I have to do is walk into the room and I'm ready to go.
Right.
So we reduce that friction. The people that you spend time with can create friction between where you are and where you want to be. So good time to spring clean some of that. So yeah, environment is huge. Even organizing your cupboards.
Yeah.
The things that you use the most should be the easiest to grab.
Yep.
The party platter punch bowl thing that you use once every 18 months
Just put away.
shouldn't be the first thing that you
Yeah.
see. It should be the plates and bowls, right?
Yep.
The healthy food, the nuts and healthy snacks and the organic peanut butter. We're going to do a show on crappy peanut butter. That should be the easiest stuff to grab. It shouldn't be the candy bars and the jelly beans and we still have Easter candy in our house, but it's on a really high shelf, right? So that reducing that friction in your environment. Actually, here's a good one. Do you keep your phone on your nightstand?
Yes.
Do you think that affects your sleep?
That it's on my nightstand?
Yep.
No.
I want you to do a test.
Okay.
Put it in a different room for a week and see what happens.
What?
Yep. So why are you nervous?
Because I need it there.
What do you need it for?
I don't know, to be able to grab it.
For what?
What if I want to talk to somebody or...
What, at 3 o'clock in the morning?
No. I don't know. I think it's like in my head, I know it's right there. It's
And that
safety
right
thing.
there, like your whole body language shifted when
Yeah.
when your shoulders are
Yeah,
shrugged
I
and your
can't
your
imagine.
arms have like done this Tyrannosaurus Rex thing because your phone actually causes stress for you. Like it's designed to make it addictive, and
Yeah.
the pings and the bells and the whistles and the alerts are all like designed to make it addictive. But that is actually
what if
creating.
I miss something?
You're not going to miss anything. You're sleeping, right? And put it in the other room. But the point is, first of all, you're sitting there with your phone and you're doom scrolling until you fall asleep. Well, that's really affecting your sleep. The blue light and the stuff that you're reading. And get a real alarm clock and put your phone in the other room, and you will see that you're more relaxed, that you're sleeping better.
Is that our action item?
And that could be an action item.
Yeah.
And I know you got kids that have to get to school, but like, do you ever wake up in the morning and just start scrolling and suddenly 20 minutes or more has gone by? I know you daily. I assumed at least on the weekends, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's eliminate that from your life. You've reduced the friction to you and wasting time.
Yeah.
It's really easy to sit there and scroll for 20 minutes, which
Yeah.
you know you don't love.
No.
Versus putting the phone in the other room, you've now created friction. Your environment is more conducive to you being productive because that thing is no longer sitting there.
Yeah.
I have I'm
hard.
not one of these guys, but I have friends that are like this, and sometimes I aspire to be like that. We have the Alexa in our room, the Amazon thing, right? That alarm goes off. When I tell it to stop, it then turns the lights on.
Okay.
And it plays music.
Nice.
So, which is really cool, right? Like there ain't no snooze in that, right?
No.
So, but that's another example of like, I have a hard time I'm a snoozer,
Yeah.
right? And I after hiring my sleep coach, I'm finding ways around this, but that that creating that environment. Like, yeah, it's cool to have the smart house and the automations, but that right there, I wake up again more energized, like ready to rock and roll. What's the song that it plays? Lovely Day. I think it's Bill Withers, right? It's a really popular song on like Instagram stories.
Nice.
I don't know. It's one of those things that pops up on there.
So it's inspiring to get up and get started.
Yep. So let's get some friction.
Created an environment.
Exactly. So do some spring cleaning, get some friction out of your environment. The other part about your environment is how often are you inspired by it? Doesn't need to be every day, but you feel better when you get into a clean car versus one with Cheetos all over the place, right? How about does this do anything for you? The lines on the carpet after you vacuum.
Yeah.
Oh,
when
man.
You see that it's clean.
Oh, but even Joel's nodding at that one, right? Like when we got back from our trip, our housekeeper had vacuumed the basement, which is maybe a once a week thing. And I got back and I'm like, I don't even want to walk on this.
Know.
Like it just looks so good. But how often are you inspired by your environment? And this doesn't mean you need to go out and buy a new car and buy a new house, although sometimes those things help, maybe only temporarily. But even like when you travel or you do new things or you experience new things, right? Are you at least renting that lifestyle to allow yourself to be inspired? Yeah. That's like inspiration is actually one of my core values. I like to inspire and I like to be inspired. So I very actively seek these types of things out. So again, being intentional about it.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they're there anymore. They probably are. But in our office, when we bought the building, we had these 4 horrible, horrible posters of like classic art.
Oh,
there's ones that's like sunflowers.
Oh yeah, they're still there.
They're yeah. I don't understand. Like, I don't work in that office. I don't even go into that office room. But like, I would have put those things in the dumpster.
Yeah.
Like long ago, because they're getting a little faded. You know what? When we go back, we're throwing them out. Like it's spring cleaning time. That's our action item. Throw out the crappy artwork, and instead replace it with something inspiring.
Yeah.
There are companies now that probably do tens of millions of dollars of revenue selling those inspiring posters. Yeah. The words or the images or whatever that are inspiring, especially to entrepreneurs and business owners.
Well, I know just even like with working from home, and there's times we're on Zoom and they're like, where are you at? I have to change the environment, the room that I'm sitting in, depending on what it is that I'm doing for that, like where I feel most, like if it's like sometimes I want to have it's not so bright or I have candle.
You know what? Let me knock out the last thing on environment and then we'll start talking about the getting in the zone for those specific events. So, talking about the lifestyle, talking about the environment, talking about creating a space so that you can show up as the best version of yourself on the Maverick Mindset Radio Show, streaming live on Facebook. Take a look at your calendar and the rest of the structure that you have in your life. That's all. That's the only other point on that.
Because you said where you spend your most what's on your calendar is where you're spending your most time, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And you know this is driving me crazy because I lost my mind yesterday. Like my calendar is really chaotic right now. We are going through we got some big things going on.
Yep.
And it's causing me stress because I don't have that freedom and flexibility that I need, right?
Yeah.
My calendar is not structured in a way that allows me to be impulsive, which is one of those things that I really like to do, right? Yeah. So that's missing right now, and it's really, really affecting how I'm showing up for things. Okay, so that's big picture. That's lifestyle stuff. We talked about the Wheel of Health. We talked about doing some spring cleaning, doing some visualization. Last one, sorry, I forgot this one, and it's really important. Dressing and acting the part. Mm-hmm. This one's huge, actually. So I wore the Hawaiian shirt for a reason today, but I'm a lawyer. I'm a licensed attorney. Yeah. And we know I don't do a whole lot of direct client facing work, but it's been 2 years since I've worn a tie.
Really?
I haven't, not for a funeral, not for a wedding, not for a court appearance. I have not worn a tie in 2 years.
Is that intentional?
Yeah, because that's not the type of person I want to be. Yeah. I don't want to be the type of person that wears ties, right? And we had Louis Giramito on a prior show, who's a tailor. He is actually okay with me not wearing ties because he knows it's part of who I want to be, right? I want to be that entrepreneur who's a little laid back and a little relaxed, who can work like crazy when it needs to happen. And a tie's only going to slow me down, and it's going to give the wrong impression of who I actually am. Because the moment I drop,
you feel different about who and what you're doing.
Absolutely, yeah. And the moment I'm wearing a tie and I drop an F-bomb, it sounds different from me doing that in the Hawaiian shirt. right? Like that's more natural to who I am. Okay, so let's talk about getting in the zone, like for a specific thing. And you and I talked about this because we were talking about sales. We were talking about showing up for sales consultations. So I had a sales call yesterday with a company, and the salesman is in Miami, and we were on Zoom, and he was wearing a 3-piece suit and a tie. Right? Like he was ready. And this guy was killer. Thank goodness. He asked me how much time I had for the call, and I told him, and he went over. And thank goodness he did, because I had to hang up and get off the call, because I would have ended up buying this thing that I don't really need right now from him.
Right.
I need it eventually, but not right now. He's a really good salesperson. But he was in the zone. He was ready. So you and I were talking about this because being intentional about how you show up for things, right? When you go and pick up your kids from school today, how do you think you want to show up at that moment?
Well, I want to be in a good mood, and I want to be excited to see them and
ask them about their day, curious about what happened at school. You don't want to be stressed out. You don't want to be answering emails on your phone. You don't want to be swearing at or flipping off other drivers. So there are things that you have to do to make sure that happens. Let's start with, is there enough gas in your car? Right? Did you put your phone away so you don't have it up in front of you?
Yes.
Did you take that 30 seconds from the moment they walk out of the school, or maybe it's more than 30 seconds, but from the moment they walk out of the school until they touch the door handle, did you just take a breath? Like, did you transition? Right? Actually, going back to the what you wear thing, when I used to wear suits every day, and I would get home, the first thing I would do is change. Yeah. Because I had to get out of work mode. Like I had to transition into, all right, it's time to be a husband and a dad.
Do you know what it reminded me of when we were talking about this in the, you remember Mr. Rogers? Mm-hmm. And he, every time he got there.
Are you comparing me to Mr. Rogers?
No. But he had, before he could get into being like Mr. Rogers, he had to change his coat, change his shoes. Remember he put the sneakers,
sweater. Mm-hmm.
That's
and all that. That's a great example.
Right, and then when it was time to leave, he ended the show with changing back out.
And if there's one thing we know, it's that Mr. Rogers always showed up as the best version of himself.
Yeah, I did.
Like I don't know, like I couldn't do it, but maybe I need to slip into some sneakers more often. Yeah. Okay, so we were talking about this with sales because the way that you show up for a sales conversation is different from the way you're going to show up to pick up your kids from school.
Correct.
It's different from the way, we got happy hour tonight because we have an employee who's departing, and I almost said we're celebrating that. We're wishing her well, right? It's a great move for her. So like the way that you show up for happy hour is different, right? So what we were talking about is that they're triggers or anchors, right? So things that you do that put you in that zone. Yeah. So I was telling you about Manny Pacquiao, right? Who's the boxer. You didn't know who he was. But there are... Okay, I'm going to tell you about Manny Pacquiao, and then I want to talk about other triggers that you can create for yourself. But if you have... So Manny Pacquiao is a really famous boxer, right? And if you watch him during the stare down of a fight, like the boxers get in the middle of the ring and the referee tells him no hits below the belt, blah, blah, blah. Manny Pacquiao puts his fists together in front of his chest. And I'm on camera doing this, but you look it up. Look up Manny Pacquiao pre-fight. And he puts his hands together like this. And that gets him in the zone. Yeah. Like that trigger, that physical trigger of putting his hands together. There's a good TED Talk about this. Yeah. I don't remember who did it, but she basically said the Wonder Woman pose, like standing up straight, hands on your hips, staring off into the horizon. Yeah. It actually changes your physiology and makes you more confident and more powerful. So these triggers that you can have. So one of the triggers that you and I were talking about, one thing that I used to do with sales is I had a specific watch that I wore. Yes. So if I had days where I was doing consultations and I had to get in the sales zone, which we're going to do a show on sales because it's people think it's a bad thing and it's negative. No, sales actually helps people if you're doing it properly. Because the thing you're selling should be helping people. Right. So we talked about like getting in that zone because we don't show up to sales in a conversational way, in a, hey, how's it going? Tell me all about the things in your background. And no, we are there to diagnose your problem and to propose a solution that may or may not be hiring our business to help you. Right.
Well, and for me, and I get in my own head. So it was, and our conversation started on that, and why we had that discussion was I start thinking about what is the other person thinking about what I'm saying, am I doing it wrong? Oh my God. Like I have all these thoughts. It totally I get it. I'm not in the zone. Now I'm in my head. Now I'm, nervous and, confident stuff. So you were like, what do you need to do to get in the zone to believe that you're this salesperson that is confident and knows what you're talking about? And that now I think about that. So
what are you doing? Have you started doing anything?
Unintentionally, before the sales call, I think about that conversation, right? Like I didn't like thinking about that and understanding that I have to go into this sales call in this way, and I do know what I'm talking about, and I am confident in what I'm selling, and they're not thinking about me because they're not even thinking about it.
All right, we're gonna transition here, and I'm just gonna tell you how to do this better.
Yeah.
and everybody who's listening is gonna get to listen along with this. Okay, so getting yourself in that frame of mind. A couple things that you can do, right? And this is in particular with sales, because that's your thing right now. But this can apply to so many other things. So let me tell you a handful of things that you can do. Before a call, depending on how much time you have, and what we're going to do, I'm going to tell you all this stuff. And then as you practice it, you're going to be able to do it instantly. Yeah. I can put if I'm thinking about it, I can put myself in a relaxed state in about 7 seconds.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good. Actually, it's funny. So as part of this show, I looked up Tony Robbins' morning routine.
Yeah.
It must be 3 hours long. Jeez. I started reading through, and I'm like, I don't even want to talk about this on our show. Like, there's so much to this. I'm not going to remember all of it. I'm not going to outline all. There's so much that he has to do. It's part of his morning routine. What I
felt when I was looking at Jordan's routine.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about that. So. Couple things that you can do. One, visualize the perfect outcome.
Yeah.
Right. How would you go into a sales call? You know a little bit about these people, a little bit about their business. Like, what are the things that you need to do in order to make this thing work? Right. Like, how do you need to show up? What level of confidence do you need to have? How's the conversation going to go? So visualize that. Second, this is a good one. And this is for anybody who needs to be in like an energized state or a confident state. Write down your greatest hits. Like, go through your life and the moments where you felt proud and and you're just killing it. Write them down. And you don't have to do this before every single meeting, right? But if you've done it once, if you've got your list of your greatest hits, you can then run through those in your mind, right? Like there are speeches and presentations I've done where I've just killed it. Yeah. And when I go and do another speech or presentation,
you think of that.
I think about that moment, and it puts me in that state. I was energetic. I was hyped up. I was connecting with the audience. And if I think about those prior wins, I can put myself in that state.
Yeah.
Okay, another one. Because what's happening is what you're doing is you're training your brain. Like you've got these peak moments that you're trying to recreate. So here's another one. This is a good one. Music.
Yes.
Do you have a playlist that you listen to? Like I asked you a couple weeks ago, what's your pump up song as we were driving into the show? It wasn't my first choice.
No.
But like, do you have a playlist or do you have music that you listen to? Yes. I have 5 songs that I listen to on the way into this show.
I do. My kids are always like, your music is so weird. Because it's
We have to get them out of your environment. No. But actually so I got to listen to Taylor Swift on the way into school every day. But then after I drop them off, I go back to my playlist.
Yeah, I have my songs, my music.
Yep. So, all right, what are they? What are your songs? Give us a couple of them.
Okay, so I like Tattoo by Jordan Sparks. Is it Jordan Sparks?
Okay.
Oh God, you like put me on the spot.
Well, this is open up your phone, get out your playlist. I'll tell you my songs as you're looking this up. So for this show, I listen to. Actually, this is true in a lot of instances. There's a version of Everlong by the Foo Fighters that's live at Wembley Stadium that's on YouTube.
Okay.
I've played this during meetings.
Yeah.
Like that song just builds up and then just rocks. Yeah. We're going to see the Foo Fighters in July. I can't wait. But
nice.
So Everlong by the Foo Fighters, but the live Wembley Stadium edition. The Greatest Show it's Hugh Jackman from The Greatest Showman.
Yes.
I only recently learned about that song, but man, that gets you fired up to host a show.
Yeah. That's on my my playlist.
That's a good one. And then, depending on the day, sometimes it's a long way to the top. If by AC/DC, it's a long way to the top. If you want to rock and roll, great entrepreneurial, motivating song because it's all about like getting beat up, getting bruised, getting I don't even remember, robbed, broken boned. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. Great reminder. Flip side, if you ever hear me pull into the office and I'm listening to the Imperial Death March from Star Wars, it's going to be a bad day for people. So that's usually a loud one in my car. But that music, that can trigger, it builds me up. It gets me ready to rock and roll. I also make sure before the show, I do hard workouts every Wednesday morning before the show. Like that gets me energized and gets me going. I only had 20 minutes this morning, but I cranked it out and it put me in that state. So going through the greatest hits, visualizing the perfect outcome, listening to music. We talked about putting on the costume. How about the doctors and the surgeons who spend that time scrubbing their hands before they go into the operating room?
Yeah.
Yes, there are sanitary reasons why they do that. But they're also getting in the zone. Like they are going from, saying hi to the other nurses and patients to like, all right, game time. Let's go. And I bet Scotty Scheffler, I assume he washed his hands, but I assume there were other things that he did after he got arrested before he went out and killed it at the PGA Championship. What else is on your playlist?
Okay. So we have Bruno Mars.
Which one?
Where is it? Bad Meets Evil, Lighters. It has
I don't even know these songs.
Oh, it's so good. I listen to it. That's like I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to get pumped up. Okay, we have Kelly Clarkson, Jessie J, Masterpiece. Who else is on here? Jordan Sparks.
A lot of singers.
Yeah. Nelly. Just a dream.
Good one. All right.
Britney Spears. Yeah.
So, all right.
Nothing my children listen to.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. So while we're on the topic, you did a little bit of homework about getting in the zone, getting ready, showing up for game time. Yeah. You know The Last Dance?
Yes.
Documentary on Netflix.
It's good. If you haven't watched it,
how many times have you watched it?
I like 3 times.
I think I've watched it 3 times. Yeah,
it's good.
Because we grew up in the Michael Jordan era, right? Like we were in grade school, and the kids had the shoes. I still have the shoes and the jerseys, and Michael Jordan was the Michael Jordan of our generation.
Yes.
And the Last Dance was really interesting because you see this dude was a mercenary. Or if you've read, so Tim Grover was his trainer.
Yeah.
He wrote a book called Winning and a book called Relentless. You talk about surrounding yourself with the right people. Tim Grover is ice cold.
Yeah.
And he worked with Michael Jordan, and that's part of the reasons that he's Michael Jordan. So we got a pregame ritual for Michael?
He has a the whole day before the game actually starts. So they broke it down into morning, afternoon, and then right before the game.
Okay.
But in the morning, it was working out between 5 and 6
a.m.
5 and 6 a.m.
Okay.
Yes. And then he did specific injury prevention exercises. He would watch SportsCenter right afterward. That was went up and watched SportsCenter. And then he would have a big breakfast. But if you didn't finish the workout, because sometimes some of the other guys would come over, if you didn't finish the workout, you didn't get to eat breakfast. So you had to finish it in order to eat breakfast.
Okay.
Then they would do a 1-hour shoot-around game that he would speak to the media.
This is every game day?
Every game day.
There's 82 games in a season.
Yeah.
Okay.
He would take time to play golf. So that now we're into the afternoon.
Okay.
He would play golf, take a nap, and then every day, game day, steak and potatoes. That's what he ate. It was steak and potatoes. And then he listened to calming music.
Ooh.
Yes.
Didn't see that coming.
I didn't either.
Did not see that coming.
He would get dressed up, 3-piece suit, in his best dressed. He drove himself to the arena.
He had a vanity plate on every car.
Yeah, well, in a custom sports car.
Yep.
And this he considered his alone time. So it was what he needed to do before the game. Now, he would get there 2 hours before tip-off, but he wouldn't touch the ball until 20 minutes before the game. He never touched the ball. He had to drink hot coffee before putting on the uniform. And when he put on the uniform, he would wear his blue University of North Carolina shorts underneath.
I think a lot of people know that story. He wore his college basketball shorts his entire... Actually, that was in Space Jam.
Yes.
Remember, he didn't have his shorts, and the guy had to go get them.
He requested to be the last person to be taped up, and he would put a sleeve on his left elbow and left calf. And then each game was a new pair of Jordan sneakers, so he never wore the same sneakers for the game. And then most guys double up their socks. He would only wear one pair of socks, and then he'd be ready for the game.
So that's his game day ritual. That's all it takes for
But
Michael
it
Jordan.
has to be in that order. Like, those are the things he has to do. Like, it has to be steak and potatoes. It has to be the black coffee before he puts on the uniform. He has to lace up his own shoes. That was another part of it too.
I don't know how old he is now. I should have Googled this. But so he owns a NASCAR team now.
Okay.
And a couple weeks ago, his team won. One of his drivers won. And he was at the race. So I think they've won some other races, but he's never been there.
An interview, he did the race car team because the competitive spirit, he said, never left him, and this allows him to still.
It was, again, like, you watch something, you hear something, you see something, and you go, man, like, that's why he's Michael Jordan, right? So they interview him after the race. First time he's been at a race where his team won, and the interviewer goes up to him, and it was I don't remember who the driver was that won. This is going to bother me, but he picks up the driver's kid, and like, what a moment for that kid, like Michael Jordan, right? So they interview him, and they're like, Michael, like, you're here, like, you finally, because your team has won, but you've never been at the track. And he goes, oh man, like, I'm losing. This is crazy. Like, yeah, we won. Our other driver didn't do so well, but we won, right? So like, you have to be critical to be Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And he's like, these are really tough for me because yes, this is the competitive environment, and I love winning.
Yep.
He goes, but here's the problem. I have no control.
Yeah.
And
Before he did.
Here's what he says. He says, when I'm on a basketball court, I have total control. This dude, 50s, 60s, how old is this guy now? And he is still talking in present tense of, when I'm on the basketball court, I am in total control.
Yeah.
Like, that dude is in the zone.
Yeah.
Constantly, right? So, man, I love it. I think that's super cool. So you and I were talking about, back to the sales calls thing, creating those triggers or anchors of like what you can do to get ready. So you talked about music. The thing that I did is I put on the costume, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like the surgeon washing the hands. There was a specific watch that I wore. I told you, like, maybe it's a sweater, maybe it's a blazer, maybe it's a specific seat that you take where it's like, all right, this is like, I've flipped the switch and I'm in the zone, right? There's a moment when I race my car, right? You put the 5-point harness in and you're strapped in and you can't move and you got the helmet on and it's a little uncomfortable and you're double checking everything and making sure the gauges are all right. And then you're stopped in the pits, and there's just a moment where I take a breath and just like exhale it out. Yeah. And the switch is flipped. Like, I've now forgotten everything else except me in the car. And at this point, you're strapped in so tight that they feel like one, right? Yeah. If you are showing up like that in your life, in your relationships, in your romantic relationships, in your business, in the workplace, with your kids, in your spiritual life, you will live in the zone.
Yes.
Like that. Yes. That is being very intentional and getting the best outcomes
in all areas of the web of your life.
being the best version of yourself.
Yep.
You don't need to have Michael Jordan's entire daily routine before he steps on the court. He led a little different lifestyle than most of us, but there are things that you can do quickly. So I mentioned this earlier about how I can get in a relaxed state in about 7 seconds. Yeah. I've created that inventory. I've remember those moments in my life where I've been really relaxed, and I can put myself back in that state. Yeah. So there was a time a couple of years ago, we were camping in New York. We were in the Finger Lakes, and we went to this like little store where kids could do arts and crafts and stuff. And I don't know what it was, but I was sitting on this couch watching my kids and Jackie make this art, and I could like feel my heart rate slow. Yeah. And I kind of got a little numb, and I was in this state. And I can now put myself in that. Like, I can picture myself on that couch. Even saying it right now, yeah. I bet my Aura Ring is tracking a lower heart rate right now, which I've been drinking energy drinks and I came here all fired up. But even just thinking about that, so putting myself in that position. Flip side, though, is when I got to show up fired up and pumped up, I think about those high energy moments. Because
being in the zone is being focused and intentional about the thing that you're doing at that moment, and not letting the other things that you have to do throughout the day or in the other categories of your life creep into that moment that you're doing it, right?
Yeah. All right. So, we got so in the zone today. We didn't do our quote of the day. We didn't do our action items. But that's okay. We were in the zone. Yeah. We were in the zone. That's the action item. Yes. Pick a thing. Look at your calendar. Look at something later today or tomorrow, and be very intentional of how can you show up as the best version of yourself. How do you need to show up? And take a moment. I want to keep going on this show, but like, don't show up to the Zoom meeting the moment it's supposed to start. Right? Like, don't wait for the clock to hit 9 o'clock. Yep. Get there a minute early. Leave your camera off. Leave your microphone muted.
Get yourself.
And get in the zone. Get in the zone. Put on your college basketball shorts.
Yeah. If you
Let's
still
go.
have them.
Yeah. All right. We're going to be back next week. Another great show. This was the best show yet.
Yeah, this is good.
They are. All
Yeah.
right. We'll see you next week. I
Yep.
believe in you.